Warning, the following content is not advisable for 2017 ICO cooks.
Welcome to Shitcoin TV. Today, Andreas and I are joined by none other than Paul Sztorc, creator of Drivechain. Welcome, Paul.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor.
It's great to finally have you on. I know Andreas and I have been talking about it for a while, so it's definitely is an honor for us too.
Awesome.
So I guess today, the main thing we really wanted to, I know this sounds is an annoying phrase, but pick your brains about, Paul.
Oh, okay. Yes, we all have drinks. It's funny. We all have different colors too. I just have water. I mean, vodka.
I've got Red Bull. It looks like beer.
Nice.
Yeah. I have a beautiful burgundy red wine in a Zalto glass. I love it.
Awesome.
Aren't you doing a little challenge this Christmas, Andreas? Festive challenge with the wines.
Oh, the 40 bottles of burgundy? Yes.
40.
And we're also watching 37 Christmas movies.
37 Christmas movies. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Happy holidays to everyone in the audience, and Merry Christmas to all.
Yeah, happy non-denominational holidays to everyone.
Yes.
Well, okay. With that, we can jump in. So I guess today, the main thing we really want to talk about is an awesome project that Paul is working on called Drivechain. And I guess one phrase that I think really sums it up is when you see it, you can't unsee it. So that's one thing I've been thinking about. But yeah,
that puts it in a very distinctive category.
No, I think as soon as you know that's it. You go down a rabbit hole, right?
Okay, good.
But Paul, I'd love to just kind of have your take on a little bit of a breakdown of just what you think, how you would describe Drivechain and what it does.
Well, it tries to separate the investment Bitcoin, the token, the money, tries to separate it from any individual piece of software technology. So Drivechain lets you send Bitcoin from some base chain, which would probably be Bitcoin Core. It lets you send that to a different piece of software where it can change owners or be used in some kind of smart contract or weird other thing, any weird, crazy idea that the developer has over there, and it can then be re-transplanted to the original chain or to some different chain. So it lets you send Bitcoin among completely different pieces of software. And that's especially important these days because there is a lot of tremendous contention and disputes over what exactly the software should be doing. Most obviously the block size debate, but also stuff like Turing completeness and privacy features, like should we have large ring signatures like Monero? Should we have something like ZK snarks? Like Zcash has this very, very slow kind of difficult to compute system, but it's much more private. And so there's all these trade-offs, and people don't really know what to do about it, really. But that's kind of a long story. So the short version is just you can send Bitcoin to different pieces of software and back. And I do think that it's important because we are seeing this explosive kind of shotgun-style innovation in blockchain space where most of it's nonsense, but there's a market demand for people trying out these different ideas. And inside the nonsense, there are a few legitimate ideas. I think definitely the ERC20 token or the counterparty style token or something like that there's something real there amid mostly nonsense. And certainly the block size debate is something that many people have taken a lot of different stances on. Some of which seem to be, at least more than one seems to be rational. I mean, you have at least Luke Jr. who wants it to be 350K, and then you have some people who just go along with the crowd, and they say 1 megabyte or 2.2 megabytes or whatever it is now, the complicated block weight duality thing. And then you have other people who want it to be higher, and then some people say it should be extremely high or unlimited. And I think at least two of those perspectives are rational.
If we just pretend that we could go back in time and we had Drivechain, then we could have things like Ethereum and Monero and Zcash without pre-sales and ICOs and all these tokens. So we could all just be owning Bitcoin, but we could also have these experiments, and you could send your Bitcoin into the experiment to get the features or not. And if you don't, they wouldn't hurt you.
Right, that's exactly it. And in fact, I think, it was anyone who's been around for a long time, I think will remember the announcement of Rootstock. That was around the same time that Ethereum first started to get when it first started to make it onto the front page of r/Bitcoin on Reddit or something. Ethereum was sort of starting to get talked about a long time ago in like 2015. And then our Rootstock showed up and said, oh, we're just going to copy that. And everyone thought, oh, great. And of course, none of that panned out because that may have been 2014. That was like ancient history nowadays anyway.
And I mean, one thing is you can say these, a lot of these tokens are pre-mines or ICOs or scams, and they lead to all kinds of just unwanted outcomes for everyone. But if you even ignore that, just the amount of fucking time we're using juggling all of these tokens, like what a joke. Shapeshift is a business and Binance is a business that exists only because because we just wouldn't have sidechains. Binance wouldn't even exist.
That's crazy.
Someone wrote me an email, and they ended up CCing Eric Voorhees, actually. They wrote an email complaining about sidechains, and they said, whatever, and they said, I'm an investor in Facebook, not Facebook, oh my God. He may have been in Facebook, but he was an investor in Shapeshift, and they're like, my investment's going to be ruined, What are you doing about this, Eric? And it was very funny. But that was a long time ago. And so, but of course, Eric got the last laugh because very little progress was made on sidechains in 2015, 2016, and very much progress was made as far as shitcoin trading and demand for Shapeshift. So I'm sure he did okay, even though we can only imagine the extent to which he's currently cooperating with the U.S. federal government in
I would
multiple
assume
ways. We don't know exactly.
when there's an anarchist running an exchange that has no KYC, and if suddenly one has KYC, that means like you could make a movie about it because it probably has like child in some torture dungeon or something. Like,
I don't know. Like, probably like they just Xeroxed. They probably have all of his hard drives and like every corner of his house of cameras. Like probably it was all his emails and Google searches from ever. And so there you go. That's Colorado, everyone. Don't run your non-KY. Leave the United States if you're going to do something like that. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Oh, certainly. And so yeah, what I was saying before is I was saying Ethereum would be a sidechain, but it probably wouldn't because there's a lot of undesirable things about sidechains, but it could have been. So I'm not saying like we would have kept Ethereum as a sidechain because it's way too complicated and convoluted.
Yeah, Ethereum it contains not only a technical idea, but it contains other things in it as well. And the technical idea, I think, is almost one of the least important things of it. One second thing that it contains is just the idea that there should be a competitor to Bitcoin that does things differently. And like reversing the DAO hack and just in general being extremely liberal and taking a chance on all these weird ideas. But also what Ethereum is kind of it attracts all these gullible people. And it's a nexus for gullibility. And that's part of how the ICO is kind of this multi-dimensional pyramid scheme. It's part of why the ICO crowd was drawn to Ethereum, because it was created by a sort of a scammy ICO, and then it gave birth to many scammy ICO children. And but there's so much more to it than that. Though Ethereum is like it's like a projection of the desire for, I mean, I think the idea that it just should compete with Bitcoin and that it should have a differentiated product contains a lot of it, that there's no leader in Bitcoin, but there's Vitalik Buterin in Ethereum. Bitcoin is sort of dirty and it doesn't play nice with anyone, but Ethereum is like super friendly and you can do like a fun, non-judgmental dance on stage wearing like a costume, and that's like considered okay and normal. It's like, so there's like just the desire to just sort of be different that kind of captured Ethereum. And but yeah, the Ethereum is many things. It is not merely people wanted Turing complete scripting language, and anyone who thinks that that's all that it is has never looked at like Ethereum.com or just met the Ethereum people, because there's so much more packed into that train wreck that it's just a little technical feature doesn't quite explain it.
I do remember that we used to have quirky memes and dances and Christmas parties in Bitcoin before we all became we're all enemies now. But before that, we used to actually have a lot of fun. A lot of people don't know that, but it used to be a bunch of fun. We had actual Christmas parties in San Francisco where you could go and have a drink with Sipa.
What happened?
The block size debate happened, and now we all hate each other outright, or we just resent each other. And
it's also kind of a reaction to other Ethereum and other things as well, where it's like, oh, if they're going to do something like that, can't do anything like that, then we would look Ethereum-ish. I remember, I have a funny story, which is that when I first invented my other project, which used to be called Truthcoin, is now Bitcoin Hive Mind, there was actually kind of, Blockstream wanted to form like a partnership to develop it. That was November 2014, and then I just happened to meet Roger Ver in December, the next month, December 2014, and Roger was like, oh yeah, I'll fund it or whatever. And Blockstream was like, oh, that's perfect. Great. They're all like, everyone was like, everyone knew each other and they're all happy about this. And Blockstream was worried about like regulatory questions. So they were like going a little slow on it. And they were like, oh, that's so great that Roger funded that. I'm so happy.
How times change.
Co-founder told me that.
I think a lot of people don't know this. That if you look at the early companies, you'll find the investors. For example, as far as I know, Trace Mayer and Roger are both investors in Kraken.
Yeah.
And this is the early Bitcoin company. The investors are on all kinds of sides on everything.
Right. No, everyone used to be on the same side. Of course, it's this. Okay. In fact, I still kind of remember it that way. So it's difficult for me to believe when I see the fights on Twitter. I just think like, listen, this is real. It doesn't seem real to me. I'm just like, this idea that they're mortal enemies and they hate each other is false. But it feels real. I do think, certain people, I hesitate to name any names, but there are some people who are like professional, they are professional climbers of the hierarchy, and they really made a career out of kind of being a jerk on Twitter and taking advantage of people's, I don't know,
I can absolutely say Gmax and Coinbase for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was thinking of that was one of the many names that you hit on one. There are quite a few on different sides.
Oh, there's so many of us. I mean,
and they did kind of like, they were like, oh, this would be a really easy way for me to score points with super prestigious person. And even though I had, even though there's no legitimate talent, they have this one talent, which is
the climbers.